This portion of CardioSource video news coverage of AHA 2010 is brought to you by Novartis Pharmaceuticals Incorporated.
I'm Peter Block at the Heart Meetings, and I've just bumped into my friend Szilard Voros from Piedmont Heart Institute in Atlanta. Szilard has been interested in chylomicrons and atherosclerosis, and I've always thought that when I eat a big meal that it was the cholesterol that was really bad, and it turns out maybe the chylomicrons are more of a culprit than we thought. We know vascular endothelium just stops working after a Big Mac. So what are you learning in your studies, Szilard, and what are you going to present here today?
That's right, Peter, and I'm not going to ask you what you had for dinner last night, but nevertheless, we've been very interested in atherosclerotic plaques for a number of years, and as you know, the traditional thinking is that most of the lipids come from the liver. And so what we started to find a couple of years ago is actually when we looked at the composition of these plaques is we did not only find particles from the liver that ended up in the plaque, but also a lot of the particles that are in the plaques came directly from the intestines as chylomicron remnants and deposited before ever going to the liver.
Well, actually, that sort of is intriguing because if you eat a big meal, you'd get a lot more chylomicrons and you probably bypass the liver a little bit more. And these end up where? They end up directly into the plaque? How does it work?
Absolutely. So we've been studying carotid and endarterectomy specimens. And so we found that these actually come directly from the intestines, get into the lymphatics, through the thoracic duct into the SVC, and get into the systemic circulation and end up in the arterial system before first pass through the liver.
So is there an ApoB receptor on the plaque? How does this work?
It's very interesting you said that. So we've been looking at different receptors that may be involved, and we did find a very specific receptor for chylomicrons called an ApoB48 receptor, which actually is present on the endothelial cells, and those may be partially responsible for the retention of these.
So these get stuck directly on the plaque. Chylomicrons, of course, are filled with cholesterol. And so this is a huge bash of cholesterol that gets in the plaque suddenly. Two questions for you before we quit. One is, do you think multiple small meals are better than one big one? And the second question is, what about the diabetics? Why are they different?
Right, so let me take the second one first. And in the diabetics, we do know that the residence time of chylomicron remnants in the circulation is much longer, and that may be partially responsible for the accelerated atherosclerosis. With regards to the small meals, I think probably you will be able to even out that postprandial triglyceride and cholesterol load, but of course we have to study that carefully.
Yeah, so lots to learn, and maybe even some real clinical issues that can come out of this. I guess what we can say is that try eating small meals, particularly if you're diabetic. That may be a good idea. That more to be learned about that. But certainly the chylomicrons seem to be as much a culprit as anything else. So a big fatty meal is not good for you. Agreed?
I completely agree with you, Peter.
Thank you, Szilard.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Novartis Pharmaceuticals Incorporated for supporting continuing coverage of CardioSource video news at AHA 2010.